diversify or die. Pretty bold statement.
I don't mean die as in a person, I mean the industry's dying. My dad borrowed a helicopter.
Sorry, so you'd borrowed a helicopter?
Borrowed a helicopter.
Machine guns?
No, he left that one at home. So my grandfather was a rhubarb grower in the rhubarb triangle.
Sorry, excuse my naivety. What is the rhubarb triangle? Is this like a masonry thing? Have you ever actually just given in? Someone said no 20 times and you thought, no, that is enough. I'm actually going to listen to you.
No.
Trials, tribulations, mistakes, barriers, successes and failures. Hear it here firsthand from those that have grown billion-dollar businesses to those that are just starting out. Winner of the Campaign Publishing Award for Best Business Podcast in the UK, Success is in the Mind is the only place where you can get a sense of business reality in a world full of idealism. Everyone claims to be an entrepreneur, but can everyone live up to the title? What does it take to start a business, to get your product into a high street store or grow a well-managed team? I'm Oliver Bruce, founder and entrepreneur myself. Join me as I interview business leaders and founders from across the globe, delving into what makes them tick, their differentiators and intrinsic motivators. This is Success is in the Mind.
Thank you so much to our headline sponsors for the year, Capsule Cover. Capsule Cover, a specialist insurance partner to growth businesses, supports some of the UK's most innovative and ambitious companies. Sponsoring each and every one of our podcasts, we're on a journey with Capsule, and so should you be. If you're a scale-up or an ambitious, high-growth business, check out how Capsule Cover can help you with bespoke insurance solutions. Inquire via capsulecover.com and quote Success22. UK farming has been put on more people's radar than ever before, ever since Clarksons started driving around in tractors shouting at sheep. But farmer, mother of two turned produce exporter to Dubai, claims that in farming and business, individuals need to diversify or die. But why? From founding Annabel's Deliciously British to diversifying into Tame Wild drinks, Annabel is not your average entrepreneur. I ask how she balances running a business and bringing up two children, why the UAE are so fond of her rhubarb, and should any apprentice contestants be listening, just how hard is it to get that perfect alcohol-free flavour? Ladies and gentlemen, Annabel Makin-Jones.
Thanks for having me.
So the other week we had William Chase on the podcast, arguably one of the more successful farmers turned entrepreneurs out there. You've not done too badly yourself. Talk to me about how you got into it.
I think I'm a long way behind Will, unfortunately. But then I am a bit younger. I think we both come from the same industry and we've hopefully seen trends and jumped on those at the right time. His was obviously crisps with Tyrrell's to start with, and mine has been more about building a brand within fresh produce initially, and then kind of going down the route of the more sustainable, like how do we make a really sustainable brand within farming that people can really believe in and understand where the food comes from and know that when they buy that brand, they get what they actually think they're getting. It's not a rip-off, and actually it's a jam that says England on it, but it's actually full of Chinese fruit. And I wanted to just bring some... not naming any names, obviously.
No, naturally.
But I wanted to bring some, kind of transparency to farming and food production.
I mean, in terms of, and we'll get into the actual business because you've got two that kind of feed each other to a certain extent. But looking back at your childhood, growing up on the farm that you did, it's, generations have owned that farm of your family members. Is that instilled that work ethic into your family? Do you have any brothers, sisters?
No, I was supposed to be Charles.
You were supposed to be Charles?
Yeah.
And you went for Annabel instead? Okay,
there you go. They got me instead. Yes, it is definitely instilled into you. And, you spend so much time. It's not work, is it? I think when you grow up on a family farm and your parents are farmers, work isn't just work, it's your life. You don't get to clock on and off, and your weekends are not for yourself, whether your animals need feeding or... it's time to go harvesting. You do what you have to do. And that is just, I think it's the best upbringing you can have, actually, because you have responsibilities, whether you like it or not. And it pushes you, it pushes you in that direction of, well, we work every day and that's just life.
So have you got a arable farm? What type of farm have you got?
Yeah, so initially when I was little, we were an arable farm with potatoes. Right. And then as things progressed with my father, it changed and he went into grading potatoes that were imported. And then I came along and grew that business with him. And then we started growing strawberries. And that was to fill a gap in the summer because we were busy in the winter and we had this kind of hole because we weren't grading potatoes. And so we decided to utilise the chill stores and the land that we had. And actually, we were looking for something where we would get much better return. And arable farming, as we all know, is, on its knees. So we had to look for something else. And that's when the strawberries started.
When you say we, that was obviously your dad and yourself. How heavily invested were you in the early days of your childhood in the farm? Were you out there helping your parents?
Yeah, so when I say started the strawberries, that was 2004. So going back before that, when I was in my teens, I was always there, whether it was, filling the little brown wage packets with my nana or taking the fish and chips up on my quad bike when they were combining, or actually, carting corn. I loved it. And then I started to work in the office when I was 15. And it kind of just went from there. And actually, I wasn't coming home after university. I was going off and doing something totally different. And it was only when I stepped back in for a few months and really threw myself in at the deep end that I felt that it was unfair to my family that I left, but also to the business, because I had made so many drastic changes and very, very quickly.
It sounds quite idyllic, that upbringing where you were on the back of the quad bike. I can picture it. But you eventually went to Harper Adams to study Agri-Food Marketing with business studies. That didn't set you up too badly for life.
Well, ultimately, I knew that I'd have a good time and be with like-minded people.
Why not the Royal Ag? Why didn't you go there?
Oh, God, I've got to be careful here. So my husband went to Cirencester.
Did he?
I guess I felt I was better placed at Harper. They have an amazing sort of placement year, which really sets you up for real life within your university years. And actually, Harper Adams is perceived as being very, very good at getting people ready for industry. And I felt that was better for me.
Now, that's very diplomatic. 2 fingers to the RAU then in that case. When graduating uni then, what did you want to do? You went back to the farm, I'm assuming, and you kind of accidentally fell back into that world. Did you want to fly the nest and do something different?
No, actually, I went home because I was waiting for a property in Leeds. My dissertation was based on a premium sandwich chain / delicatessen that would then turn into a homemade ready meal business at 3:30 in the afternoon. And it was to be based in Leeds for all the people that lived in apartments so that they could literally get a great lunch, a great dinner, stick it in the microwave if they wanted. They could even have a dinner party at home and they didn't have to make any of it.
Lovely.
And I got the funding from the bank and I found the property. And in that time, I went home to do some work because I couldn't have the premises until the November.
Right.
And I went home in the June because that's when I finished Harper Adams. And I went in with a sledgehammer and made some huge changes. And then it got to signing on the dotted line in the October. And I suppose there was an element of, I felt it was the wrong thing to do for my father and my family because I'd gone in and I had made so many changes and I knew what my capabilities were. I had seen that over those few months. But also I felt, and I think a lot of farming children feel this, I felt it was my responsibility. Therefore, I should do the right thing. I'd been at a very good girls' school. I'd been to Harper Adams. I'd had a really good childhood. And I kind of owed that to my parents and my grandparents and the farm. And so I decided not to go anywhere. And actually, a lot of people say, oh, well, it's all right for you because, your parents had the farm and you've got a family business. Those are the people that don't have a family business that say that because they have no understanding how difficult family businesses are.
I bet there's a lot of politics involved.
Especially when you're all quite strong.
Yeah, very individually minded. But you've got kids now. Do you want them to take over, I suppose, the multiple businesses and the farm that you now have?
I'd like them to have the option if they wanted to. I don't want it to be a given that they will. I'd like them to have their own ideas because I think that the other thing is with being in a family business, it's quite easy to be in someone else's shadow and we all want our own time to shine. And so I would hope that, whether it was taking it in a different direction or starting up something else that could be based there or it was part of it. Of course, I would love that. But it's their choice.
So are they boys, girls?
I got one boy and one girl.
Okay, so you've got a good split then. I bet you're able to kind of hope that the girl will do something that you're interested in and what the boy will go and work with the dad.
Well, my husband now works with me. He came in the summer.
Oh, you're recruiting them all then? This is tax efficiency.
It's cheap labour.
Yes, it is. But no, in terms of bringing up 2 kids, running a farm, running 2 businesses, that's pretty labour intensive. How How have you done that?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't really like to sit still. I find achievement so exciting. It's definitely not about the money, because there isn't a lot of that at the moment, but it's about, I suppose it's about creating something, and that being, these businesses are now my babies, and watching them flourish just like a child, really. And, for every knockback you get, which, it's like somebody smacking you in the guts, it's the amazing things that come along and the things that you get asked to do. And also particularly with my Annabel's brand, the good that I do for the Prince's Trust, I actually get a real kick out of lots of other things that are way beyond, a big turnover.
How did you get involved then with, and we'll get on to Annabel's shortly, but how did you get involved with the Prince's Trust? I mean, there's elements of synergy around the duchy, I suppose, in terms of what they do, Farm Shop Organic, you're in a similar world. What was the reason you got involved with the Prince's Trust?
I went to a dinner. I was invited to a dinner, and I heard someone speak who had been a beneficiary, and I actually found it really inspiring. So when I started Annabel's, I knew that I wanted a brand that did more than just sell produce with my name on that was of a better quality, etc. I wanted something more than that. And so I inquired as to whether I could support them, even though I was only a very small business at the time. And they were great with me, actually. And I think what inspired me more than anything is I think we all touch on politics here and there. And that charity inspires and supports people into be able to support themselves, which in turn gives better mental health. They feel that they've achieved something. And like I said, for me, achievement is everything. And so I just feel that being able to give people the skills to be able to provide for their own is far better than just handing over money. And I'm not talking about for medical things, because I also give for Marie Curie. But being able to give people skills rather than just give them money and then be on the streets all day, and actually it makes no difference to their lives. That
is properly interesting. But I mean, do you have to get to a point in your life though, Annabel, whereby you can then give back, or have you always been this philanthropic?
No, I don't know how you see it, but I think definitely as you get older, you obviously look at things in different ways, yes. But I want to feel good about what I do and the decisions that I make. And where you get big businesses that can give money, farming actually struggles with that because it doesn't earn that much money. But what we can do is take people and show them what we do. And if I can create a brand where I add in some margin for these charities, we can then take farming to them. These are the type of people that don't know how to drive a tractor, that don't know how their food is grown. And the bigger picture for me is that, and I put a time limit of 10 years on, I want to create a charity that goes into inner city schools and teaches children where their food comes from, because they did a survey in Leeds, and 90% of the children in inner city schools in Leeds think that milk comes from a supermarket.
No, really?
So yeah,
that is mad.
So people have lost touch with food, and so there is a bigger picture for me, but it ultimately it is about the less fortunate and how we can help them.
I mean, and you did create a brand though. You have started a business, and you kind of in 2004 took over your parents' farm and started to diversify into strawberries, as you alluded to earlier. That was the start of really that journey for you, wasn't it? In terms of getting to this point where actually you may well be able to start this charity. Talk to me about how you got into the world of strawberries.
So, like I said, we needed something in the summer to fill the gap where it was quieter for us because we weren't importing potatoes and grading them. And so we went into strawberries. We had the land. At the time, there wasn't that many people in it. We could see the gap in the market. There was a better return for us. And so we went down that route. And then from 2004 to 2018, we basically produced strawberries for retailers. And then by the time I got to 2018, I thought, my God, can I actually do this forever? They just want us to produce strawberries
for life,
as cheap and as fast as we possibly can. And what am I doing? This is boring. This is, I was 37. Why? How do I want to? What else do I want to do? Surely this isn't me for the next 25 years. And so that was when Annabel's Deliciously British came up, because I said, well, actually I get lots of nice emails from people that when they see my name on the retailer's pack. They send me an email and say, your strawberries are great. So I basically went to London with a really, really nice Annabel's biodegradable punnet in March of that year with no fruit in it, and pitched to 2 of the best wholesalers in the country. And how I did it, I don't know. But they said, yeah, we're going to go with you.
Wow.
And I got them. And I also got Booths retailers. There's 28 of those in the north of England.
Wow.
And Ocado.
Okay, big brands.
Yeah. And it's worked. And we do have a really nice following. And then that has led to so many other things. So that's led to... So we're all about sustainability. But that then led to using the fruit to create jams and chutneys, me engaging with other farmers and growing rhubarb together, daffodils, and then came Tame Wild, which is my drinks company, which is basically using the best of British fruit, turning it into extracts and creating a drink which is low in calories, low in sugar, even the sugar is from English sugar beet, and giving people something to drink when they're not drinking. So the other thing I wanted to do was talk about mindfulness and health and, how we all live a better life. And Tame Wild offers that.
And in terms of, and we'll get on to the Tame Wild story shortly, and there's some anecdotes around The Apprentice and them creating alcohol-free drinks. I don't know if you watched that last week, but they really copped that one up.
Yeah, I
did. But in terms of how you opened those doors with Ocado, how did you do that? Because you made it sound incredibly easy. You just turned up at their door, or did you have an in already?
No. I went to somebody and said, do you have a contact? No, I don't. But I know somebody that might have a contact. And this went on through about 5 people. And then I eventually got an email for an own brand lady that worked for Ocado. It wasn't even in my area. And would you believe it? And a lot of people listening to this will go, God, you were lucky. She replied and she gave me the buyer's details, which A, they don't usually reply, and B, they definitely don't give you the details. So I was like, wow, oh my God, how has that happened? And then she gave me the details of the strawberry buyer, and I then went to him. And I think it was really interesting at the time for Ocado because they had Waitrose and they didn't have their own brand. So they just really had Waitrose and there was no branded produce out there, other than Berry World. So they were really keen for this kind of niche farm shop product to go onto Ocado, and it worked really well.
You named it after yourself, which some say is ballsy because your face literally is the brand. If it goes wrong, then that's kind of fairly obvious that it's you that went wrong there. But arguably, does that give you a bit of a kind of edge against the brands that may feel more corporate, may feel bigger, I suppose, because you have that element of personality?
I think people want to know where the food comes from now, and I think people like to know the story behind it, especially foodies.
The provenance.
Yeah. And the majority of my product does go to foodies and, the best chefs and restaurants in London, and around the country, actually, and to Japan, and to Hong Kong, and to Dubai. But
world domination.
It's worked. The people like it. And I suppose naming it after me allows them to... I share quite a lot of farming life and what we do as a family on the farm via Instagram. And we get really nice feedback from that because people feel like they know where it's coming from. And actually, although it's been delivered in a plastic bag, they know it's come from that farm.
In terms of it coming from that farm, though, obviously, you've spoken about that influence, that kind of social side of the marketing. Do you think you could have done it without that? Because your stories are very organic and very raw.
Gosh, that's a good question, isn't it? Not as quick.
Not as quick. Because you've scaled pretty quickly.
Because customers share stuff as well, don't they? And then it's that active following them from their customers, and then somebody talks about it. And it's amazing how that spreads so quickly. Probably no. Without it, no, it wouldn't have spread as quick.
Because it's only been spread as quick when you're making jams, but it's only been sort of 12 months or so, hasn't it, since you launched it, before you had what I can class as a pretty big issue, to use a technical term. You had a load of farming equipment stolen in 2020. That's pretty critical when you are running a farm to run your business, right?
Yeah.
How did you get past that? Was it just insurance, or was there a big kind of spanner in the works?
My dad borrowed a helicopter.
Sorry, so you borrowed a helicopter?
Borrowed a helicopter.
How did you do that?
From a friend, and flew over the area within about a 7-mile radius. And found...
Machine guns?
No, he left that one at home.
Oh, he left that at home, right.
But found 3 of the biggest items, which were 2 Kubotas and a quad, dumped. So they were back within a few days. And then the other stuff was all things like strimmers and chainsaws and all that kind of thing. Those we claimed on the insurance. But, the insurance were great. So, we were back to normal fairly quickly. Yeah. And it was in the winter.
Oh, fine. So it wasn't that integral. Still a big issue, in terms of finding them via the air. Would there have been another way of claiming that back, or would it have elongated the pain and elongated the process, and you might have had a bit more of an issue on your hands?
Well, we could have claimed it our insurance, but then your claim goes up, and then they're coming round and saying, well, what's this locked and is this done, and and then they're just into everything, which is just annoying.
So you got to be able to helicopter to get past that. In terms of your famous statement we found online, you say diversify or die. Pretty bold statement. What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't mean die as in a person. I mean the industry's dying, and if you don't diversify and look for something else, you'll die of boredom, because you'll just get hammered over the head by the retailer so much that in the end you'll either sell up. Hopefully you'll sell up and get planning permission on your land, but if you don't, then you'll sell up and sell your farm, and somebody bigger will come in and just continue to do what the industry's doing, and that's just shoveling as much out as quick as possible. So if you don't look for something else, and hey, I'm not saying I've got the answer, because I'm doing my best, but
we're looking for you for the answer. I was really hoping you did.
Just have a go at something else. Don't let the boredom kill you.
But you've diversified. You've gone from potatoes to strawberries to daffodils to gin, and one of your biggest exporters is Dubai. You sell them a lot of rhubarb. Why and how did you get into that?
So my grandfather was a rhubarb grower in the Rhubarb Triangle.
Sorry, excuse my naivety. What is the Rhubarb Triangle? Is this like a masonry thing?
The Rhubarb Triangle is at Wakefield in Yorkshire and has the same recognition as Parma ham and feta cheese, the regional...
Okay.
I can't remember what it's called, but the regional...
Like accreditations.
Mark.
Yeah. Okay.
And so is really sought after in London, especially with the chefs.
Yeah.
And I knew a grower that was giving up last year, and my grandfather had done it, and I was looking for... I basically wanted Annabel's to be an all year round business, and that's very difficult when you're a strawberry farmer. And so I went looking for something else, and I thought, well, what can I do with the farms that we have, with the roots that I have, that's also a premium product that sits well with everything else that I've done. So rhubarb came up, and I have an amazing relationship with a retailer called Spinneys in Dubai, who stock my jams and hopefully the drinks soon and strawberries. And they see rhubarb as an exotic. So I now ship rhubarb from Wakefield to Dubai.
Like we see pineapples, you do it from the Rhubarb Triangle, not to be confused with the Bermuda Triangle. I like that. Didn't know that. There's
definitely no chance of them growing rhubarb in Dubai.
I'm going out to Dubai in 2 months' time, so I can report back, but you're probably right. In terms of farm shops, they're quite cool at the moment. Farm shops have kind of been on the rise over the last couple of years. Have you seen a massive uplift in organic sales simply because people are more educated on actually healthy eating and where food comes from? I know you said you wanted to start a charity, but farm shops have had a massive impact, surely.
Yeah, I think, and especially with COVID, I think they did. I think people became so much more interested in food. They also needed somewhere to go, and let's face it, your local supermarket isn't exactly, a nice ride out. So I think people switched and did like the bulk shop at the retailer, and then would go to the farm shop and almost treat themselves and look for something different and look for recipes. And then obviously due to social media, what was being shared, by chefs and the box schemes, it kind of inspired people to get more involved with food. And I think that has definitely helped the farm shops, which I think is amazing.
In terms of partnerships then, because I'm assuming you have to partner with certain farms in your area to be able to get the quantity of product that you need to be able to distribute, or do you do it all yourself?
No, so my daffodils are from Cornwall, actually.
Are they?
Because that's the best growing area for flowers. And we started in Cornwall because that was already going, but we are looking to grow flowers in Yorkshire. it's just not that easy, like daffodil bulbs, to get hold of them. You may all think when you listen to this, that's rubbish, but actually it's not. Daffodil bulbs are extremely expensive and in high demand. So it's not just as easy as finding the bulbs and planting them. So there are lots of things in the pipeline for us, all sorts of exciting things, but obviously, you know, with anything, it just takes a bit of time.
And in terms of kind of diversifying and looking at other areas, what else are you going to be going into? Because you're kind of spreading yourself quite broadly at the moment. Are you going to go into other things? Crisps, maybe.
I know, I'll leave that to Will, I think.
Okay.
At this moment, I launched an awful lot of products last year. And I think this year is about making sure that I get my listings and where are they going and where do I want to be. So, for instance, we're just doing a big run at the moment of miniature strawberry jam jars. Can't go into detail, but it's looking like it's going to go to a very high-end airline, afternoon teas, things like that. So I am basically taking my products now and going within what I've got, where else can I go and what am I going to do? We got notification that we've got 21 stores in Manhattan and New York for strawberries this summer. So that it's about taking the rest of my stuff and building those relationships to take all of my products so we can create this story in store where people understand that everything has come from me, and even if, you know, the daffodils are not from my farm, they know that they've been sourced really well, that they are English, British, and that they're buying whatever they're buying, they're buying British all year round. And like the jams and the chutneys, you know, 99% of what you buy in the supermarket has Chinese or Polish fruit in it. We don't, you know, we're not allowed to advertise the fact that people are not using English or British fruit. Actually, if you look on the back, when it says strawberries, the reason they're not telling you is because they don't have to.
Right. Okay. Do you think that should be put into law, put into legislation, that you have to declare where the product has come from? Surely that's around the corner.
I think so, because I think people have a perception of, oh, you know, you sell your strawberries to the retailers, but what do you do with that 10% waste that doesn't make the specification? You know, people see my jam and think, oh gosh, it's more expensive than X from down the road. Of course it's more expensive. We've got a much higher minimum wage. You've got to take the calyx out, which is the green bit at the top. And therefore it's going to be more expensive. But if you want to buy British and you want to support the farmers and the countryside here, then you got to put your money where your mouth is.
100%. And in terms of looking at how you get into bed with these luxury airliners or these individuals in Manhattan, what is your strategy for that? Because you do seem incredibly lucky. You accidentally turned up in London, you're in Okada, you're in Manhattan, you're on some planes. I'm assuming it's British Airways. Is it British Airways? It would be a great synergy.
I actually can't say who it is. I've had to sign an NDA, so I don't know. Some might say it's tenacity. I don't give in on anything. If I want something, I really wanted to buy, and they were really, really anti having me. And I pushed and I pushed and I pushed. And now, I mean, I was there a couple of weeks ago and I was having dinner with the buyer. And now the relationship is amazing. I think it's just never giving in. And actually, when somebody says no to you, instead of that, at first you go, oh, that hurts. But it's then saying, well, I'm going to show them, and they are going to have it, and just never giving in and making sure that, you know, whatever way, like even if I have to come back and redirect and go around another way, 90% of the time I find a way.
Have you ever actually just given in? Someone said no 20 times and you thought, no, that is enough. I'm actually going to listen to you.
No. It's like red rag to a bull.
Yeah. What point do you stop, though? Well, you have to stop at some point. You can't be persisting through these individuals when they don't actually want your product. How do you know when to stop?
No, but what's funny is it's mainly the big retailers. You know, for instance, oh hi, will you stock my jam? Managed to find the buyer who's actually replied that buys the conserves. Oh yeah, we're not reviewing this until Q3, and my mother just died, and then the dog ate my daughter's homework, and you get every excuse.
Good excuses
in the book. But yeah, well, they are.
Good excuses.
They then change. They swap buyers around. So then you can go again on the next one.
And so you get then eventually the answer that you want.
Well, you would hope so.
So what you did after you decided to export rhubarb to Dubai was that you started a business called Tame Wild, which basically produces excellent high-end alcohol-free drinks. I know because I've had some. When and how did you get into the world of liquid?
So this was born totally out of going for dinner with some mums at school. My children had just started school, and we went for dinner, and I had a gin and tonic, and then I thought, oh God, actually it's half an hour home. What am I going to have? And I don't want to drink Coke and lemonade full of sugar with a nice meal. Don't want to drink it at the best of times, but definitely not with a nice meal. And there was nothing. You can have carbonated water with some lime juice in. Don't really want that either, to be honest. And so I went away and I thought, well, what could I do? And I'm all about being British, all about what we can grow here and very much the best of British. But also I had in my mid-30s a really, really bad time with my stomach. And we couldn't find anything wrong with me. And I was sure I was going to die. And there was just, everybody said, there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with you, you've got IBS. And I was like, I haven't. And ended up going and having some help from a lady in London who is an alternative therapist.
Oh, what type does she practice?
She is...
Reiki, homeopathy?
Oh, God. No. It's...
Does she stab people?
It's a... No, well, she just kind of stab you.
Kind of does.
It's a probe on the end of your finger, and it measures your meridians. It's... I can't... Don't ask me that question.
I've literally no idea.
And she helped me so much, but the medicine that she gave me was all made from herbs. And within 12 months, she'd fixed me. And that made a massive difference to my life because it was just constant. I was in pain constantly and I just couldn't get rid of it. And I thought, well, hang on, I'm wanting to make these amazing drinks that are for when you're not drinking or to be used as a really nice mixer, as it turns out. And
for when you are drinking.
Yeah, for when you are. And so I thought, well, do you know what? I'm going to look for things that are natural, that are good for what are we seeing that are problems now in the world? Mental health, anxiety. And so I chose things, for instance, in the strawberry, there's lime flower. Lime flower is really good for anxiety. Dandelion with the blueberry is a natural diuretic. So don't get me wrong, I'm not going to change your life. And I'm not allowed to make those claims on the bottle. But people are becoming more and more aware of alternative health and what herbal extracts can do for you. And the blueberry is amazing when you've got a hangover because it's got dandelion in and it gets rid of it. So
I hear ginger's quite good as well.
Yeah, it is.
Have you got a ginger drink?
No, because I can't grow ginger in the UK.
That is a small barrier, actually, in all honesty.
Actually, I would like to have a go at doing it, but at the moment I've just got enough on. But I'm looking at lots of alternative things to grow. I saw somebody growing watermelons the other day in polytunnels. I got all excited about watermelons and a UK watermelon drink, but I'm not quite ready for that yet.
And you must partner with individuals to be able to supply the produce to put into the drinks, right? You don't. I know you do with other.
I don't grow all that, no.
Fine, okay. But how do you come up with the flavours though? Because I was only watching The Apprentice the other day, and it'll be 2 weeks ago when this airs that they decided to challenge themselves to create alcohol-free beverages. That was a disaster. They were all rubbish from what I could see, but yours are nice.
Thank you. I mean, I don't think I had some help, I'll be honest. I went to and this is another thing. This is all about sometimes it's who you know and the help that you get. So very good friend of mine put me in touch with a guy that owned quite a few breweries in the north of England, and I went to him and he told me then who to go to help me to make the drinks, and then the people that made the drinks then helped me. Then they had a small factory to start and make my first batch. And then I wanted to bring it home to Yorkshire because I always wanted it to be made at Yorkshire, but there wasn't a factory that would make a real small run for me. So then I had to up my volume and bring it home to Yorkshire and have it made here for it to all stay within Yorkshire.
That must have been quite expensive to specifically do a small run in Yorkshire and only make it in Yorkshire.
Yeah, so that's why I had to put the run number up. I mean, it is expensive. It's not a cheap product because there's just absolutely no nasties or anything artificial in it whatsoever. Again, this was created for foodies, people that care about what they eat and drink. And I think you can tell that when you taste it.
But in terms of funding it yourself, it's not a cheap thing to do in terms of actually getting the capital together to be able to essentially launch a completely separate business when you've already got one on the side that you're trying to grow. Where'd you get the money from?
So my parents were very kind and lent me some. obviously I have Annabel's, which is mine, and I'm not a big fan of owing money, so I've paid my parents back, and now Annabel's helps to fund Tame Wild. I mean, Tame Wild was only started 6 months before the first lockdown happened, so it's had a really treacherous time. To get it in people's hands is so difficult, and why would people switch from one thing to another? And unless you're in that car driving around every pub, which is virtually impossible when you're running 3 other businesses, actually incredibly hard to do. And you need people to understand what it is as well. And again, that's really hard, getting that out there and people understanding what the product is.
And in terms of how you go about marketing it, because you're pretty much self-taught in all of this, both kind of from starting a business through to scaling, through to diversifying, through to launching more, how do you know what the right thing to do is? Because Tame Wild seems to be going quite well as far as I can see. You can tell me differently.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, probably not at the rate that I would have wanted, but then I do run at everything. So that's probably unrealistic, the goals that I set myself. I mean, we're doing well. We're in Daylesford. We're in Fortnum & Mason.
Yeah.
Potentially going to Dubai. It's in Booths supermarkets, and we've got quite a big deal with a retailer come this summer. So
it is quite well.
It is. Yeah, it is good. It's doing better than it was, definitely. I think it's just hard, isn't it? Because, like I said, these things are your babies. And when you get a lot of knockbacks, it kind of, everyone seems hard. And you always remember the knockbacks, and you come to take the really good things for granted.
100%. And looking back at when you started Tame Wild, how did you get it off the ground? Because if there was a pandemic and you couldn't get it into people's hands, how did you get it out there? It can't have solely been through social media. What was it?
I gave it away.
Literally?
Like events, I know, which I'm still doing now. I posted it. I visited people. I am lucky in the sense that I do know quite a few famous chefs who have helped me by listing it. And then it has quite a high profile. And the customers that I have, like Fortnum & Mason, Daylesford, they want that more premium thing. And then that has given me that kind of stepping stone, because they're premium. People go, oh, well, what's that? Oh, it's in there. That definitely helps, because that kudos behind it, when you say to somebody, oh, well, I already supplied Fortnum & Mason.
Yeah.
They think, oh, hang on, that's good. But sometimes you just have to wing it and pretend that you're somewhere for somebody to take notice, and then get it listed in there. And then you can use that off the back of the fact that it's in there. I mean,
where have you pretended to be listed? Harrods?
You have. No, I do supply Harrods with fruit, but not the drinks. You just have to be a bit imaginary, I think, in the start off, and maybe stretch the truth slightly. But then once you've got your foot in the door, then you're away. But so what these buyers forget is that they're sat in their nice, comfortable seat at their desk, going yes or no, and don't have a lot of understanding about what's gone in behind that poor person that's emailing them every week, driving them insane.
100%. And in terms of telling that story, though, just run me through how you would pitch to a buyer, because that's often where people fall down. Even if the door is open and they've got the buyer in front of them, sometimes they just don't get it right. How do you pitch to the buyer?
I think it depends on the buyer that you get. If you get someone who's really interested, for my products particularly, if you get someone that's really interested in the product, likes the product, and understands the background behind it, then they will buy into it. And ultimately, they're buying into the story behind it. And it's an easy win when they do that, because you've already got them on the hook. Basically, the only issue you've got is the price. Mm-hmm. The problem is when you get somebody who's a buyer that isn't interested in the products. All they're interested in is in the margins and the numbers. Actually, they're the ones that I can't really be bothered with, because I think if you don't understand my products, then you're never going to get it, and you're not going to understand why they're a bit more money or why they're premium. So let's not waste each other's time, because if it's all about the numbers, I'm not going to win the numbers game.
No, 100%. I mean, do you ever come back down to a level that is actually cheaper than where you went in at? Or do you hold your own and say it's X, that is what it is for these reasons?
No, obviously, as I grow and get more customers and do bigger production runs, I can then drop the price. But we also all have to be very aware in the industry that I'm in that every time minimum wage goes up, 65% of my costs are labour. So I actually can't get rid of that unless I put a machine in. And we all know that robots that pick strawberries are extremely slow. So I'm not in the position to be able to go and do that. So again, the people that actually understand the industry and the products know that. And that's the hardest thing, because the retailers have removed all of the knowledge, all of the information, all of the seasons behind pretty much every product in the supermarket. And therefore, nobody knows what grows at what time of year. I said to somebody the other day, I said, oh yeah, the daffodils start this week. Daffodils in January? Like, we should be shouting about the fact that we're the biggest daffodil grow. The UK is the biggest daffodil growing country in the world.
Is it really?
Like, how many people know that? Yeah.
I mean, I there you go. Case in point, I had literally no idea. Ask me about tulips, I can tell you where. Daffodils are not your man. In terms then of issues and barriers and mistakes then, because it doesn't sound like, apart from the fact that some quad bikes were stolen and a few strimmers, you've had many issues. You seem to have done quite well.
Or maybe I'm just good at hiding it, you don't know.
Sales, that is exactly what it is.
Fails. I think there's fails every day.
Don't put yourself down, you were so positive earlier.
I think the world that we're in, and particularly farming, you just become a firefighter most of the time. Like, there's always a problem, and it's how you get around those problems. I'm not a particularly glass half empty kind of girl. So if something goes wrong, I try in my own mind to manipulate it to be a positive. And I seem to be able to do that 85% of the time with myself, which I think does keep me positive and does just keep me going. I have a great team of people that work for me. I feel very, very lucky.
So how many have you got working for you now then?
So office 15.
Okay.
Key staff outside, about 25. And then in the summer, we have 300.
Blimey. Okay, so ebbs and flows.
Yeah, so they all live on site as well when they come in the summer and in caravans. But again, they're 85% returnees. So I'm to be honest with you, one of the proudest things is that, because we must be doing something right as a business for the amount of people to want to return, be based with us, obviously earning a fair living, taking it home and then coming back again. And, without them, we wouldn't have a business. So that is so important to us.
Do you think the world's becoming more aware then of alcohol-free drinks? Because, people are looking after their health, as you've rightly alluded to, with regards to where the food comes from, but where the drink comes from. Do you think that's changing as well?
I think from a health perspective as a whole, I think definitely, whether that's fermented products, whether that's cooking from scratch, or whether that's supplements, whether that's iron or, blue-green algae, whatever you want it to be, I think everybody, or the majority, are more aware, more fitness. And I think everybody thinks come January, we're going to have a good go at that. And then by February, 95% have wavered. But I think it's not about the massive changes. I think it's about introducing small changes. So for me, I have had a good time and I've always enjoyed alcohol. But I definitely don't drink as much as I used to do. And maybe that's age. I don't know. I turn 40 next week. So,
you're joking.
Or it's... or because maybe I'm a bit more mindful. I think I am more mindful. Unless I'm drinking alcohol, then I'm doing quite well. I eat well. And in terms of Tame Wild, it's nice to come home after work and enjoy having a nice drink of something in a beautiful glass, over ice, with a garnish. But I haven't just drunk 200 calories in a glass of wine.
No, 100%. And you don't have to wake up with a hangover, which is also the perk.
No,
and we can't speak about farming, exporting and the like without mentioning the word Brexit. How's that affected your business?
Well, not affected Tame Wild. Has affected us from a growing perspective. So a lot of things are brought in from the continent. So things like coir, which is what we grow the strawberries in, which is almost like a peat soil with a coconut matting in it, so it gives better root structure for the plants. That we have to import that. We import some of our plants from Holland. They're the best plant propagators in the world. But in terms of export, not so much, because I export to Dubai, US, Japan and Hong Kong. So when Brexit hasn't affected that.
And in terms then of where you want Tame Wild to go versus Annabel's, which do you feel is going to be the biggest brand? Or are you wanting them to be an equal partner? Place your bets.
Annabel's is like the older sister that kind of does all right in whatever it does. Tame Wild is the one that, is the clumsy one.
Okay, interesting.
And needs a bit more propping up. And maybe a bit more of an arm round it. So I don't know, I guess Tame Wild in a way, because it's the underdog.
Okay, that's like me and my sister, to be fair. I'm just better than her and she needs propping up. In terms then in terms of entrepreneurial advice for those that are listening, what have you got to give to people?
Believe in yourself. Like I'm sure the people that are listening to this are like me and listen to quite a lot of podcasts, and I take a lot of inspiration from, people like Will Chase or, Bamfords or Dyson or,
Those were the ones that he mentioned. Is there anyone else that you don't inspire to be like he does? He said you, by the way.
No, he did not.
No, he didn't.
I'll enjoy telling him that though. Who else am I inspired by? Well, Will is a massive one for me because he literally was a farmer.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think the point I'm trying to make is that actually, if you've got a good attitude and you are ambitious, have a go. Like who determines who's going to make it and who isn't? If the trend is there and the timing is right and you have good people to support you as well, and you're savvy enough to be able to crack on and not let things get you down, crikey, you're only here once. Have a go at it. Love what you do and strive for more, and respect and understand your product and why you're doing it. And I think whether it's on a podcast or a meeting, that shines through in you, and actually people then believe in you, and you're a huge part of what you're doing, whether it's a product or a service. If you are that product and service, then people buy into you.
Nobody is more part of what they're doing, though, Annabel, than you, because your name is literally on the jar. And if I wanted to buy a jar, see what I did there? Where do I go to get Annabel's or to get Tame Wild? Hit me.
So you can go on our website, annabelsdeliciouslybritish.co.uk, and you can buy all of our products, Tame Wild and Annabel's products. Booths, supermarkets, stock everything that I have, whether that's daffodils, jam, chutney, or strawberries. You can go to Dubai,
yes,
obviously.
Quite an expensive plane ticket. Yeah.
Drinks-wise, Fortnum and Mason, Daylesford, and lots of pubs and restaurants. But in terms of retail, that's where we're at the moment. That's a bit of a sticking point for me. And Annabel's, Whole Foods.
Literally everywhere. And your websites.
You just can't go to the bog standard retailer and buy any of my stuff, basically.
There you go. But I'm going to Dubai, so I shall pick some up. Annabel, thanks ever so much for coming on the show. Good luck and speak to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Coming up next week on Success is in the Mind, we've got Rory Sweet back on the show. He was initially with us in Series 2, Episode 11, talking to us about how he got into business. He's now got out of business for some $715 million. He's going to tell us how. Thank you so much to our headline sponsors for the year, Capsule Cover. Capsule Cover, a specialist insurance partner to growth businesses, supports some of the UK's most innovative and ambitious companies. Sponsoring each and every one of our podcasts, we're on a journey with Capsule, and so should you be. If you're a scale-up or an ambitious, high-growth business, check out how Capsule Cover can help you with bespoke insurance solutions. Inquire via capsulecover.com and quote Success22. See you next week, 8 a.m. on all podcast platforms. Simply subscribe or ask your smart speaker to play Success is in the Mind podcast. This is a Pinpoint Media podcast presented by me, Oliver Bruce, produced by Dan Miller and Fergus Bruce, edited and designed by Harry Fox and Victoria Bramwell, filmed by Madeline Harris, marketed by Ellie Hanwell and Rachel Buchanan Hughes, and managed by Bethan Wyatt and Annabel Lawton-Smith. Quite a team. Thanks, guys. If you know anyone you think we should interview, if you want to tell your story or have your say, please reach out to me directly via podcast@pinpoint-media.co.uk. Remember, there's never a good time to start a business, but in business, you should always have a good time. Cheers, guys.